How's it going, everyone? InnovativeJdawg here with yet another Spider-Man video. A while back I posted 3 separate videos going over alternate suits that I want to see in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and now that we're in 2023, the game's release is right around the corner. Those 3 wishlist videos were met with amazing feedback, but I got a lot of comments from people confused as to why I split them apart into 3 separate videos, and some people didn't even know that all 3 of them existed. So after doing some thinking, I decided now would be the perfect time to put all 3 of those videos together into one gigantic video. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Number 15, the advanced suit from the first game. In fact, let's throw in all 47 suits from Spider-Man PS4. I know, there's only supposed to be 15 suits on this wish list, but I can't help it. I've gotta cheat and include all the suits that we saw from the first Spider-Man PS4 game. Every single suit, from the advanced suit all the way down to the black and gold suit seen in No Way Home, I want all 47 suits to return for the sequel, and because I want them all to return, I'm not doing any honorable mentions in this video. But, I mean, 47 is a big number, so if that's too many suits to ask for, then at the very least, I want to see the original advanced suit return, so then there can be a natural transition in the story mode between what we saw in Spider-Man PS4 to the slightly altered design that we see in the Spider-Man 2 trailer. Having the original advanced suit return from the first game is definitely a no-brainer, but is it possible for all of the old suits to return? I'd say so. The PS5 can definitely handle having that many alternate costumes, and I'm sure Insomniac would want a few of them to return through DLC or free updates to the game that could keep it alive for years after its release. Plus, I don't think there's a single person watching this video who wants Insomniac to leave out suits from the first game. They just did so well picking and choosing fan favorite suits that I would hate to see them get dropped in the sequel. So while it's definitely possible for most of the old suits to return, we're just gonna have to wait and see if Insomniac decides to keep them all, or drop a few of them in exchange for new ones. Number 14, Shield Spider-Man. If you've been on this channel for a while, you might remember that I've had this suit on a few of my old wish lists, but we've sadly never seen it get added to any of the previous games. First appearing in issue 5 of 2015's Marvel 2-in-1 series, the Shield Spider-Man suit is a really obscure costume that I would love to see make an appearance just for the simple fact that it would reference Shield's existence in this Spider-Man universe. It would be really interesting if we heard some dialogue referencing Shield, or maybe even the Avengers whenever Spidey wears this costume, kinda like how J. Jonah Jameson references the Spider-Punk suit. I mean, we already know the Avengers exist in this universe, so S.H.I.E.L.D. is definitely around there somewhere too. So with that in mind, I think it would be cool if this suit could sort of bridge the gap between Spider-Man and that side of the Marvel universe. Number 13, the Spider-Phoenix suit. Speaking of bridging the gap between Spider-Man and a different side of the Marvel Universe, I would love to see the Spider-Phoenix suit make a reappearance in Spider-Man 2. We haven't seen this costume since it was first used as an alternate costume in Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro, a game that released over 20 years ago, so I think it's finally time to bring it back. And I mean, it would be a really smart move to add it as an alternate costume since Insomniac is developing that new Wolverine game. Doesn't anyone else agree? Insomniac including this suit in the game would be a great marketing tool because it has those ties to the X-Men series and they're wanting people to check out their new Wolverine game that they're making. So why not include an official X-Men inspired Spider-Man costume? It's a match made in heaven if you ask me. Number 12, the high-tech suit, aka the Dustin Weaver suit. I'll be honest, the Dustin Weaver suit that first appeared in 2021's Amazing Spider-Man issue number 62, it's a really goofy looking suit, but I think it's likely that we're going to see it get added for a multitude of reasons. First off, the suit is very new and recent, so there's going to be a lot of people wanting to see it in Spider-Man 2 just because it's a fresh design. Second, there's no other suit that looks quite like this one. It stands apart from other suits thanks to the white and blue color scheme, and I can already imagine those yellowish portions of the costume looking outstanding during nighttime gameplay. I'm a sucker for suits that glow in the dark. So, while it's not my top pick, I love seeing Insomniac throw darts at the wall to see whatever random and obscure suits they should include from Spider-Man's history. They may not always end up being my favorite whenever I get around to ranking them, but I always appreciate Insomniac digging deep into the character's history to give players a costume that they may not have seen before. Number 11, the Arachnite suit. I'll be honest, I know absolutely nothing about the Arachnite suit besides the fact that it's a mix-up between Spider-Man and Moon Knight, and that several of you want to see this costume in the sequel. All I know is that this design is cool as hell, and I definitely want to see it be brought into Spider-Man 2, because I love whenever Spider-Man costumes reference other heroes. Now, I know, my track record may not indicate that I like that sort of thing, especially since I ranked the Spirit Spider and the Fear Itself suit relatively low on my suit ranking, but costumes like the Iron Spider armor, that's actually one of my favorite designs out there. The designs may not always be my personal favorite in comparison to others, but I just enjoy the idea of Spider-Man taking inspiration from other heroes, or even being mixed with others to form something entirely new. For what it's worth, I think the Arachnite design is really cool, and it would definitely be a welcome addition. Number 10, the Fantastic Four Spider-Man suit. Come on now, you longtime viewers of the channel knew that this was going to be on the list. It's practically a tradition at this point. I've advocated for a proper Fantastic Four Spider-Man suit ever since my first wishlist video for the first game. We've seen the Bagman suit and the Future Foundation suit make appearances in games multiple times, but I want the proper Fantastic Four Spider-Man suit where Spidey has that black mask and the proper Fantastic Four symbol. I may be one of the very few wanting this costume, but I definitely think it would be a fan favorite if Insomniac decided to add it alongside the other Fantastic Four designs. It's something simple that not a lot of people want, but it would personally make me pretty happy. Number 9, Cosmic Spider-Man. I was honestly pretty shocked that the Cosmic Spider-Man suit wasn't included in the first game because it's such an iconic look for the character. I've said it once and I'll say it again, but I would have much rather preferred it if the Cosmic Spider-Man suit was the reward for 100% completion of the first game as opposed to the Undies suit. Yeah, everybody loves the Undies suit. It's a really funny outfit. I've heard you guys say it time and time again. But the Cosmic Spider-Man costume just feels like something you'd want to earn if you complete the game to 100%. Aside from the black suit, which is definitely going to play an integral role in the plot of Spider-Man 2, I feel like this is the only costume that is worthy of being that final costume that you unlock. It's powerful, it could come with some really cool suit powers, and it would make a whole lot of sense for Insomniac to include it in the sequel since we didn't see it in the first game. Number 8, the Bullet Points suit. Yet another obscure Spider-Man suit that I don't think we've seen in any video game ever, aside from maybe that old Spider-Man Unlimited mobile game. The Bullet Point Spider-Man costume is really interesting, not just because of its unique purple and black design amongst the rest of Spidey's costumes, but because it's one of those suits that Peter Parker has never actually worn. This version of Spider-Man is actually Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. I haven't gotten around to reading the Bullet Points comic yet, but I hear that it's a really cool story where a lot of characters are mismatched with other heroes, like Bruce Banner is Spider-Man, Peter Parker is the Hulk, Steve Rogers is Iron Man, and stuff like that. I've always liked the design of this costume at face value, and I feel like Insomniac could do it justice, just like what they've done with the rest of Spidey's obscure costumes. Number 7, Spider-Man Unlimited. Here we go, a fan favorite suit that I see a lot of people wishing for in the sequel. The Spider-Man Unlimited suit from the 1999 cartoon has been a costume that I've seen plenty of people ask for time and time again. People wanted it in Shattered Dimensions, they wanted it in Edge of Time, the Amazing movie games, and I still see people asking for it to come in a free update for the first game. Personally, I've always liked the Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon. It's not my favorite, but I definitely think it's underrated, and I really like the unique design of the costume. I really love that large web cape that he's got. Now, I've never really cared either way if this costume gets added into games or not, but now that we've seen Insomniac do cartoony suits justice thanks to the vintage comic book suit and the Spider-Clan suit, I definitely want to see them take a crack at this costume. Number 6, the Spectacular Spider-Man suit. And speaking of cartoons, why wouldn't I want a costume based on my favorite Spider-Man show? I had the Spectacular Spider-Man suit on my wishlist for the first Spider-Man game, which back then it seemed like a huge stretch because that was before anybody knew that Insomniac was going to include cartoony suits as opposed to realistic ones. But now that we know they're capable of doing stuff like that, I definitely want to see the Spectacular suit make an appearance. I'm one of those guys who wants to see the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon make a comeback, but unfortunately, I know due to rights and all that legal stuff, we're most likely not going to see the show return anytime soon, nor are we going to see the costume appear in Spider-Man 2. But it's my wish list, and I would love the chance to play as one of my favorite versions of the character. Plus, knowing that Insomniac could pull it off and make it look authentic, that just makes me want this costume even more. I mean, take a look at this cool 3D model made by Koa Pool on Twitter. It's an entirely 3D model, yet it looks like it was ripped straight out of the show. It's incredible, and if Insomniac could do that, my heart would skip a beat. If you want to check out Koa Pool's model for yourself, I'll leave a link to that tweet in the description. Number 5. An actual vintage comic book suit. It may sound a bit nitpicky, but out of all the cartoony costumes on this list, I'd probably want to see a proper vintage comic book suit that actually references artists from Spider-Man's comic book history. What I mean by that is, I don't want to see the vintage comic book suit be just a cel-shaded version of the classic Spider-Man PS4 suit. I want it to be something that actually has a distinct design, different from other costumes in the game. Now don't get me wrong, I loved the vintage comic book suit from the first game and I used it quite often. Heck, I even want it to return, but I want Insomniac to take a step further and include some suits that reference different Spider-Man artists. They don't have to do all of them, but I'd love if there was a vintage comic suit for each of Spidey's most iconic artists, such as Steve Ditko, John Romita Sr., John Romita Jr., Todd McFarlane, and even an Ultimate Spider-Man inspired Mark Bagley costume. Just being able to see different styles of the character with different eye shapes, spider symbols, and different web wing patterns, it would be amazing for hardcore fans like myself. I would love to see all those suits because they represent a small chunk of the character's history, but if I had to pick one for this wish list, I would without a doubt want Steve Ditko's design to make an appearance. They could call it something like the fantasy suit and have that bright blue spider on the back. That would be pretty cool. Number 4. Assassin Spider-Man. I was kinda torn between adding this suit on this wish list or the Alex Ross suit, but I ended up going with the Assassin Spider-Man suit simply because we haven't seen it before. The two suits have a very similar design, but we've already seen the Alex Ross costume in a game way back in the 2002 movie game, and while it would be nice to see it make a comeback, I think it's best that the Assassin suit gets some time to shine. There's really not much I have to say about this costume that you aren't already thinking. It's a super cool and slick design that could easily be modernized through Insomniac's eye for creativity, and I'm sure it would come with a few interesting suit powers, some that could benefit stealth gameplay. It just seems like a win-win scenario for me. And besides, remember when I said that Insomniac should do the Spider-Phoenix suit just because they have that Wolverine game coming out? The Assassin Spider-Man suit was first shown in a Spider-Man vs. Wolverine comic. So yeah, gonna throw that out there. It only makes sense to add it. Number 3. The sensational Ben Reilly suit. And here we have yet another fan favorite costume that I've seen a lot of people wanting for years and years. We've gotten multiple renditions of the Scarlet Spider Ben Reilly suit in countless Spider-Man games, but we've only seen the sensational Ben Reilly suit, what, a few times? Maybe 2 or 3? Granted, it's really not that different from the classic red and blue Spider-Man costume, but even with those minor adjustments that it has, it's without a doubt one of the most beloved costumes in the character's history, just like the Cosmic Spider-Man suit. So with that in mind, I think it's about time that we see the sensational Ben Reilly suit make a comeback after all this time. And hey, Ben Reilly fans deserve something good nowadays, don't you think? Number 2. The Superior Spider-Man. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I think it's fine that Insomniac opted to not include this suit in the first game, because it would be kinda weird for Spider-Man to be wearing this suit when fighting Doc Ock, don't you think? Would it have been a cool 100% completion reward? Yeah, it definitely would have, but I could see why they decided against including it for story purposes. But now, whenever the sequel rolls around, I don't see any reason for Insomniac to neglect adding this fan favorite costume. It's too popular to not add it in the game, and unless if they decide on doing a Superior Spider-Man story arc later on down the line, this costume is so popular that everybody and their dog is going to want to see it make an appearance in Spider-Man 2, and I am without a doubt one of those people. Besides, remember those mechanical legs that Spider-Man was using in the teaser trailer? Those mechanical arms would work very nicely with the Superior suit, I'm just saying. And while we're on the topic, it would also be cool to see the Superior Octopus costume too, but I can settle with just the Superior Spider-Man suit. I'm not including it on this wish list because I've already cheated by adding way more than 15 suits, but I'm just saying it would be cool to see this costume too. Number 1. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. You all knew this was coming. The suit that I want to see most for Peter in Spider-Man 2 is none other than the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit from the 2014 movie. This costume is the only reason why I haven't made my ranking for all 47 suits from Spider-Man Remastered yet, because I'm honestly shocked that Insomniac decided to not add it. I was banking on the idea that Insomniac was going to drop this suit in a free update for the game whenever No Way Home released on digital or Blu-ray, but they never did, so now I gotta get around to ranking the other 47 like you've all been wanting. Trust me, that video is coming, and hopefully, it will be the last ranking before the sequel releases, but every time I say that, I always jinx myself. Regardless, it would have made so much sense for this costume to appear alongside the other No Way Home suits for Spider-Man Remastered, and you never know, it still might, since we have a whole year before the sequel comes out, but if Insomniac decides to keep this suit out of the first game, then I definitely want to see it in Spider-Man 2, alongside the rest of the live-action movie suits. Number 10, the classic suit. In fact, let's throw in all 20 suits from Spider-Man Miles Morales as honorable mentions. In my first wishlist video, I talked about wanting to see the original advanced suit make a comeback for Peter Parker, but I ended up cheating by including all 47 suits in my list as honorable mentions. Since I ended up doing that for Peter, it only makes sense to do that same thing for Miles, right? Granted, a lot of the costumes seen in the Miles Morales game were just variations of the classic suit with different clothes thrown on top, but it would be really cool if they all returned for Spider-Man 2, just for the sake of beefing up Miles' suit counter. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if a few of those suits get cut for the sequel, but one that I absolutely want to see return is that original black and red suit, just for the sake of story continuity. Just like Peter, Miles is shown to have a few visual upgrades for his costume in the Spider-Man 2 trailer, so I want them to include its original counterpart so we can have a natural transition between the old appearance and this new one. Number 9, the Shadow Spider suit. The Shadow Spider suit was something I neglected to put on my wishlist for the first Miles Morales game, simply because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what it was or where it came from, and to this day, I still haven't read the comic that this suit originates from, but because of how often I saw this suit get mentioned in my comments, I figured, hey, let's take a look at it. And man, you guys sure have made me come around on this. The Shadow Spider suit would be a really cool outfit to wear when running around the city, and if Insomniac ends up putting that Arachnite costume in for Peter, they could easily use a similar cape animation for this costume to make it look more dynamic. In my eyes, this is one of those lively costumes that needs to take full advantage of the PS5 hardware. There's a lot of potential here. Number 8, Evil Miles Morales. I really don't have much to say about this costume other than the fact that it would be one of those wacky and obscure suits that catches everybody off guard when they first unlock it. The quote-unquote Evil Miles Morales costume is worn by the Miles of Earth 20143, who first appeared in Spider-Verse Volume 3, Issue 2. This costume has a similar design pattern to the classic Miles Morales costume, but instead of being mostly black, the Evil Miles suit is mostly red with blue webbing replacing the red webbing. Plus, the spider emblem looks like a skull just so you can tell that he's evil. I, for one, would want Insomniac to include this costume just so it could be another one of those "wait, what is this?" kind of costumes. There's just something fun about casual Spider-Man fans seeing weirder and more obscure costumes for the first time, so I want Insomniac to keep that tradition alive by adding more wacky suits. Number 7, the Miles Morales spacesuit. I've said it time and time again, but Spider-Man Life Story is a really fantastic read. I highly recommend it for all you hardcore Spidey fans because it's a fresh, unique recap of the character's history. Miles Morales actually appears as a character towards the end of the comic, but for the sake of avoiding spoilers for those of you who might want to read it, I'm not going to go in depth about his character. But what I do want to talk about is the spacesuit that he wore when he and an elderly Peter Parker traveled into space. It's not all too different from the classic black and red Miles costume, but there is enough differences such as that luminescent helmet that I think it would be a really fun inclusion. Also, while I'm on the topic, I didn't have Peter's spacesuit in the first wishlist video, but if they add this suit, I feel like they've gotta add Peter's version as well, just so the two could match. They don't have to, but it would be cool to see the two suits side by side in cutscenes. Number 6, Cosmic Miles Morales. And speaking of seeing suits side by side in cutscenes, if Peter ends up getting his Cosmic Spider-Man suit, then Miles should get his Cosmic suit as well. First appearing in 2018's Spider-Geddon event, Miles was granted the cosmic powers of the Enigma Force so he could square off against Solus, the leader of the Inheritors. In terms of its design, it's the exact same as all the other Cosmic Spider-Man suits that we've seen over the years, with the only difference being that little mouth section where we see Miles' black mask and red webbing. Just like with Peter's cosmic suit, I feel like the Miles Morales cosmic suit has a lot of potential for visual flair, and it has cool suit powers. So if Peter ends up getting his cosmic Spider-Man suit, I would love if this suit accompanied it, kinda like how we got all those cosmic suits in Shattered Dimensions and Edge of Time. Number 5. The Marvel Strike Force suit. Hey, alright, here's a returning suit that I talked about in my first wishlist video for the Miles Morales game. Unfortunately, we didn't see this suit get added into that game, so it only makes sense for me to bring it back into this wishlist for the sequel. My opinions on the Marvel Strike Force suit haven't changed. I still think it's a really cool look for Miles that stays true to what his style should represent, yet it upgrades the original design by adding in more red portions to balance out the black, which we kinda see something similar in the new classic suit for Miles in the Spider-Man 2 trailer. Unfortunately, I don't see this suit being added into the game because there's not as many people playing Strike Force anymore compared to what we saw in 2020, so it's just one of those wild dreams of mine. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but who knows. All I know is that it would be a really cool suit to play with. Number 4. The Streetwear suit from the 10th anniversary of Miles Morales. From what I've gathered, there's a lot of mixed opinions on the Streetwear suit. Some people love it, others absolutely hate it, but I for one don't mind it. I think it's a really cool urban design that fits the character of Miles, so I can understand why a lot of people do like it, but on the other hand, I can also see why a lot of people hate it. For the record, I'm not up to date on Miles Morales comic books, so I haven't seen this suit in action much outside of cover appearances and whatnot. But apparently, depending on the artist, those red sections of the costume aren't actually red, they're hot pink. At least that's what I've heard. Now, I don't mind this costume being hot pink, but I just think it looks way better when it's more of a reddish pink as opposed to a hot pink, if that makes any sense. But regardless of what people think about this suit's design or its colors, I think it's a safe bet that we'll see the streetwear suit in Spider-Man 2. It's a fresh look for Miles that has garnered a lot of popularity as of late, so much popularity that it would be much more of a surprise if Insomniac opted to not include it. Number 3. The Captain America Spider-Man suit. Now I gotta admit, I had no idea that this suit even existed before I started putting together this list a while back. I was struggling to find alternate costumes for Miles, and during my search, I magically stumbled upon this costume that was used in a cover variant honoring Captain America's 80th anniversary. By this point, you know me, I'm a sucker for a good costume that mixes Spidey with other superheroes. The designs may not always be my personal favorite whenever I get around to ranking them, but I always find something to appreciate with each and every costume, and this one immediately caught my attention. I feel like that patriotic design speaks for itself in terms of how amazing it would be to see in Spider-Man 2, and I know it's definitely possible because Insomniac has created suits in the past that have only appeared on covers. With that in mind, I would love to see them take a crack at the Captain America Spider-Man costume, so then we could see it alongside Peter's Iron Spider armor in cutscenes if that suit returns to the sequel as well. Number 2. The Across the Spider-Verse suit. Come on, be honest, how many of you guys did I surprise by not having this as my number 1? I'm a big fan of movie-inspired Spider-Man suits, and every time I rank them, or have them in my wish lists, I always put them at the very top. Well, not this time. I actually have one other suit above this one, but I would still love to see the new Spider-Verse suit in the sequel. Just like the streetwear suit that I talked about a little while ago, the Across the Spider-Verse suit is definitely a no-brainer for the sequel just because of timing alone. Across the Spider-Verse actually got delayed to a 2023 release, meaning it's coming out the exact same year as Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So the Spider-Verse hype is going to be coming back in full swing by the time Spider-Man 2 releases. Everybody is going to want to see Miles' new costume make an appearance in the game, and I am definitely one of those people. Number 1. A hooded, classic Miles Morales suit. Alright, my number 1 most anticipated costume for Miles Morales is just a version of the classic suit wearing a hoodie, shorts, and red sneakers. That's it. It's very simple, and it's just another variation of the classic suit, but it's something I've wanted for the longest time, and I'm shocked that we didn't really get it in the first Miles Morales game. Granted, we did get the Bodega Cat suit, the Brooklyn Vision suit, and the sportswear suit, but those don't really count because the Bodega Cat suit had a different design for the classic suit, and it also had him wearing a backpack with a cat in it. The Brooklyn Vision suit wasn't really a hoodie, and the sportswear suit wasn't his black and red costume, it was the red mask that he was given by Peter at the end of the first game. When I say I want a hooded Miles Morales suit, I want the perfect mixture of all those suits, just like what we saw on the cover of the Miles Morales art book. I want Miles wearing his classic red and black costume, no backpack or cap, and no alterations to his eyes, and I just want him wearing a hoodie, some shorts, and some sneakers. It could either be the exact same outfit that we saw with the sportswear suit, or it could be the green hoodie that we saw in the Spider-Verse suit. I don't really mind what design Insomniac does, I just want a hoodie over top of the classic suit, and I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. Number 10. The Spider-Carnage suit. Going off my Peter Parker wishlist where I listed Ben Reilly's sensational Spider-Man suit, wouldn't it be cool if we also got the symbiotic version of that suit as well? Granted, Carnage is a different symbiote from Venom, so it wouldn't really be a black suit, but I still think it would be a really fun cosmetic change that would hit the nostalgia bone for a lot of fans, especially fans of the 90s animated cartoon. Including this fan favorite suit seems like a no-brainer to me, unless if they plan on doing Carnage in a future game, which I don't see them doing for a long while. It's not one of my most requested suits on this list, which is why it's down at the very bottom, but I would definitely love to see it be added alongside the sensational suit for Peter Parker. Number 9. The Superior Venom suit. Is there really anything I need to say for this suit? It's the venomized version of the Superior Spider-Man costume. It's an even edgier version of an already edgy costume. How cool is that? The Superior Venom suit has such a menacing design through its messy web patterns that it would be insanely fun to swing around the city with this suit, attacking thugs who least expect it. But aside from the visual design of the suit, I think it would be really cool if Insomniac went down the path of Web of Shadows and incorporated symbiotic powers to give you an advantage when using black suits. I'm sure they will, so then Peter could keep up with the Venom powers that Miles has, but that's a discussion for another day. Number 8. The 2012 Amazing Spider-Man Black Suit. Alright, hear me out on this because it's kind of an obscure suit. I would love to see the black variation of the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man suit in Marvel Spider-Man 2. It only appeared once in the Amazing Spider-Man movie game that released way back in 2012, but it has such a slick design and interesting backstory behind it that makes me want to see it have a comeback if Insomniac decides to keep Andrew Garfield's suit for the sequel. I don't know, this suit just feels like one of those suits that has been lost to time because Andrew Garfield ended up ditching the 2012 suit in favor of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, and on top of that, his movies got cancelled before we even got the chance to see him in a black suit at all. The black version of the 2012 suit was created purely for fan service, and I want to see it come back for that exact same reason, fan service. Number 7. Agent Venom. Yeah, I know what you're gonna comment.
Agent Venom isn't Peter Parker, it's Flash Thompson. Why would Peter be wearing his suit? It wouldn't make any sense.
And to that I say, it's my list, deal with it. But in all seriousness, I know that Agent Venom doesn't make a lot of sense, especially since there's potential for him to be an actual character later on down the line. If Insomniac decides to go down that route, I'm totally cool with that, but if they don't, the Agent Venom suit is just too cool to leave out of the sequel. I mean, look at those black eyes with the white trim around them. That's so awesome. Even if it's not a Peter Parker suit, I would love for Agent Venom to get some recognition by being included, just like how they included Miguel O'Hara and Ben Reilly's costumes in the first game. Number 6. The Spectacular Spider-Man Black Suit. I couldn't help myself. I love Spectacular Spider-Man too much to not include its black suit on my wish list. Like the Spider-Carnage suit, I only really want to see this costume if they end up including its regular red and blue version, which I also have on my Peter Parker wish list. Insomniac could easily just tweak the colors of the Spectacular Spider-Man model and call it a day. It's really that easy. Although, I think it would be really cool if the suit followed what it does in the show. The more you wear it, or as the game's story progresses, the design of the suit slowly changes to show that Peter is being taken over by the symbiote. It would be a very cool and small detail that would increase my overall enjoyability of the game's story. Number 5. The 2018 Comics Black Suit. I don't think there's an official name for this costume since it's essentially just Peter rebonding with the Venom symbiote, but it has a different design, so I'm giving it its own slot. The 2018 black suit carries over a lot of design aspects from the original black suit design, but there are a few differences that made me instantly hooked on it when I read Amazing Spider-Man issue 800. First and foremost, I love how the eyes of the costume hang off the side of the mask to give it somewhat of a 3D effect. It's really cool, and I also love how it has those web underarms to give the suit extra character. Those two aspects on top of the different spider symbol make this a must-have in the sequel. I'll be really shocked if it doesn't show up in Spider-Man 2. Number 4. The vintage comic book black suit. Whether Insomniac brings back the vintage comic book suit from the first game, or if they decide to do redesigns based off artists like Steve Ditko, I want them to do a vintage comic book styled black suit, just like what we saw in the first game. It's nothing too complex, just a cel-shaded suit that is all black with some blue or purple tints to reflect what the black suit would look like in the comics. That's it. Me and a lot of other Spider-Man fans fell in love with the vintage comic book suit for its stylistic design, and I would absolutely love if Insomniac repeated that with the black suit. Now, there's a lot of different design choices that they could go with, even with the cel-shaded suit. They could have a blue tint to reflect something out of the 90s animated cartoon, or they could do more of a purple tint to reflect what we see in the Ultimate Spider-Man game and comics. Either way, the vintage comic book black suit is a must-have for me. Number 3. The classic black suit. And if they include the vintage comic book black suit in the game, Insomniac needs to include the realistic classic black suit. Just like how they included the original red and blue suit in the first game, Insomniac needs to give us the classic black suit, even if it doesn't have any place in the game's story. Something that would make the classic black suit stand apart from the vintage comic book version is that it wouldn't have any of those blue or purple tints to make it look shiny. Instead, the classic black suit would just be pure black. Nothing but darkness on the suit so that the only way you could see it in a dark alley is through those white eyes and white spider symbol. It would be incredibly menacing in stealth gameplay, and it's a must-have for the sequel just as much as the classic red and blue suit was for the first game. Number 2. The Raimi black suit. You know me, I'm a sucker for the Tobey Maguire movies, so of course I want to see his black suit make an appearance in Spider-Man 2. I love the Raimi movies to death, and I'm sure you all know that by now considering I made an entire timeline focusing on Sam Raimi's Spider-Man universe, which by the way, I need to update it following No Way Home. I'll get on that sometime in the future, but if you want to check out the outdated version, you can click that card on the top right of the video to go watch it. But yeah, the Raimi black suit is without a doubt one of my most anticipated suits for the sequel. I want it because it's a great design, it's full of nostalgia, and I can already see all the Spider-Man 3 memes. It'll be really fun seeing people take pictures of it in picture mode and then post them on Twitter. However, if Insomniac doesn't include this suit in the sequel, or if they don't include it right when the game launches, please don't harass them this time. It's gross that people actually went out of their way to attack Insomniac for it, so I don't want to see that happen again. Or else, you know what happens.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Number 1. The Advanced Black Suit. Finally, we have my number 1 most anticipated black suit that I want to see in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and it's not even a far-fetched request. There's no denying that we're going to see Insomniac's own original take on the black symbiote suit, just like what they did with the original red and blue suit. The advanced suit has become such an iconic costume within the eyes of the public, and it's without a doubt become one of the most popular costumes in the character's entire mythos. Many people hated the white spider design at first, but they've come around to loving it, and I'm definitely one of those people. My only wish for Insomniac is that I want them to capture lightning in a bottle yet again with their own original design. I have faith in them that they'll make another iconic design that hopefully will get revealed to us very soon. And with that, that was my complete wish list for all of the alternate costumes that I want to see in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I know it's a lot of suits to ask for, and I know that Insomniac won't include every single one of them, but at the end of the day, it's just fun talking about the different suits and speculating which ones we might see. And hey, nobody ever expected that the first game was going to have as many suits as it did, so I don't think it's that much of a stretch for the sequel to have just as many, if not more. After all, it's going to be a massive game. But let me know, what do you all think of my wish list? What alternate costumes do you want to see in Marvel Spider-Man 2? Let me know down in the comments and let's have a discussion. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. It was super fun revisiting these wish lists as we get closer and closer to the game's release this fall. When the game eventually does release, I'll be back yet again to do another suit ranking video. Until then, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. I do much more than just talk about Spider-Man, so I'll be seeing all of you guys in my next video. See ya!